Welcome everyone to A DM with the Universe. My name is Hayley.
And I'm Laura.
And today we're going to have a conversation about who controls the light.
We are. I'm not sure if everybody that's listening today has heard, but there's a quiet little experiment underway in the UK. So one that on the surface sounds like science fiction, but it is very real. Scientists are exploring ways to dim the sun's rays in an effort to cool the planet. So it's a part of that growing field of solar geoengineering, something that we've been aware of for a long time in the form of chemtrails. So the basic idea of geoengineering, for those that don't quite know what it is, it's the reflect of a small portion of sunlight back into space to counteract global warming. So that is, in essence, what they're proposing to happen in a $66 million research project in the UK.
Yeah. And, in one respect, great, finally, it's out there in the public domain. And what we know has been happening for a long time across the world. This really isn't a debate about whether chemtrails or whether modification exists. We know it exists. Governments across the world have documentation that they've released. They have acts within their parliament that absolutely define that weather modification is happening on our planet. And, you only have to look in the skies, depending on where you live. I'm northern New South Wales in Australia, and our skies are littered with lines so often. It's just not funny. It's really disheartening to look at, because the minute those lines are there, you're going to have cloud cover. By the end of that day, you're going to have an impact on that weather, whether that's severe rain, storms, or as I have experienced on my own car, actual residue from the rain that has come down after heavy chemtrailing.
There is certainly something really strange going on with the climate at the moment. I had read a post on Facebook this morning stating that we have had the driest spell since the bomb started recording rainfall. So in the last 6 months here in South Australia, we've had something like 300 mils, and don't quote me on that. I'm not great with recalling data. And over there, you guys have had 500 mils more rainfall than what you normally would. Our beautiful gums that are 100 to 300 years old are dying. They're dropping their limbs and they're dying. Yes. And it's not just a little pocket in South Australia. It's right across South Australia. It's heartbreaking. So for some reason, it stopped raining.
And it hasn't stopped here.
No, it hasn't stopped at all. So while some people might actually think that this whole experiment is quite clever and it's a clever way of fixing climate change, and so there's a whole nother conversation that we can have with the universe about climate change.
Yeah.
When we heard it, it just triggered something that wasn't quite right in both of us.
Yeah.
I know we've had a conversation about the sun, and the sun isn't just a source of heat. It's life-giving. It's ancient. And it's encoded in the rhythms of every living thing on Earth. So from the way that plants grow to the way that our bodies produce hormones, it tells us when to wake up, tells us when to rest. It governs our cycles of fertility, emotions, and even our spiritual awakening. So this is ultimately what is potentially going to be messed with. Blocking it intentionally and artificially feels more like a climate move. And as a spiritual being, or us as spiritual beings, and I'm speaking on behalf of you, but we can't help but wonder, what is the deeper implications of this? What happens when we try to outsmart nature instead of working with her? What happens when we interfere not just with temperature, but with the very frequency that helps us remember who we are?
And it's really interesting, and obviously we'll see what comes through today, but we can align the timing of the increase in weather modification, solar modifications, with the increase in awakening on the planet.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you touched on that, because the Schumann resonance is deeply embedded in our spiritual awakening, and those solar codes, they're more than just data. They're a subtle, sacred energy that keeps us tuned in. It keeps us embodied and alive. So my concern is what happens if they're being dimmed, and how do we as spiritual beings stay attuned? And at the deepest level, what might the universe want us to remember in the face of this kind of interference as well?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
why is this happening? Now, I have to preface this for everybody that's listening. Of course, this is just our perspective. This opinion is shaped by our lived experience and not scientific credentials at all. But something in my body, something in my soul feels off about this research project that's happening. So shall we ask the universe for some guidance?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. If the sun is the activator of life, consciousness, and natural evolution, what happens to humanity's ascension when the light is artificially dimmed?
The whole environment is regulated by the energetic of the sun. So when you imply that how will this affect the ascension of humans in your field of reality, you are actually forgetting about the entire structure that must also be in alignment with the planetary natural laws in order for humanity to even exist. So to step this back to the core of the issue is that it impacts the living, breathing quality of all that you exist within. This is the starting point. The physicality of your earth is experienced as a result of the sun's energetic into the field of your earth grid, and you will find that if this is removed or hindered in some way, that there is a flow-on effect to the quality of your physicality. This becomes or is expressed as a form of disease on your planet, both in your natural surroundings and your animal life, as well as humans. The entire grid falls short from its fullest potential.
So I think it's safe to say that this blocking of the sun or the impact that this will have on our stratosphere will actually interfere with more than just the temperature of the globe.
In respect to the temperature change that this is expected to create, this is so minuscule in relation to the vast impact on the health and well-being of your planet and all things on your planet. There is a vibrational impact to the awareness of all soul beings as they are diffused in their light or diminished in their light as a result of the frequency change.
So who is truly behind this movement to control the skies?
Okay, so I'm really sensing that this is not the first time this has happened. In our cyclic experience of being human, where we self-destruct and we go through environmental change as a result. What I'm feeling like as far as who controls this is that it's actually an energetic behind the physical humans that are implementing this, that it's not a specific person or persons that own this desire. They are feeling this within the consciousness stream or the collective space to bring about change that is destructive. Their drive is for power, but it is for not so much power over humanity, but ultimate power of consciousness, as this collective stream of energy has that as its own directive. So they are funneling this, what we may say, negative energy through the metrics of destabilizing humanity by removing or blocking or eradicating its given life force, its central point of all that is required for this existent hologram of Earth to be born. I'm getting that the light from the sun actually sets it sets the grids and coding for the physical to manifest in this reality. So it's like putting a bug into a computer. The blocking of the sun that this is in attempt of will actually fragment the coding or the frequency, the light that is being sent into this holographic experience of Earth.
Okay. So I think you may have just answered what my next question was going to be, is why? Why is this energetic influence wanting to block humans' access to consciousness through the sun?
Okay, I'll see if there's more. I know this sounds horrible in respect to the reality that we are perceiving or experiencing, but there is this this is the game of life. It is the full experience of the all. So the all can be light and positive, but it can also try to cause disruption and challenge and create an environment for itself to feel beyond the perfection.
Polarity.
Yeah, it is about creating that polarity. And the only way to also, it's inspiring, I'm just getting through now, it's inspiring humanity to lift their consciousness. The flow of negativity actually has a inverse effect on humanity. So yeah, that real sense of how much power will we allow to be removed from us before it inspires new thought or like inventions or creation that take us out of that space and somewhere higher. So that is so there's some part about ascension here. So even though on the outside all of this weather manipulation and all the negativity appears so damaging to the human and to the psyche and to the planet, it creates a potentiality of the complete inverse.
Yeah.
So that's the choice that humanity has, to either experience the disruption and its full destruction, because taking out the sun will do that, versus
the awareness.
Yeah, the awareness and the embracing of our own, our own light coding to activate more of that within.
So this physical act of blocking the sun will trigger more of an awakening and more these type of conversations to awaken ascension in people, and choice points is what I'm feeling.
Yeah. I that feels right for me.
Okay, beautiful. So if the Earth's natural frequencies like the Schumann resonance and the solar codes are being dimmed, what spiritual practices can help us, spiritual beings, stay tuned in and aligned with our sovereignty?
Okay, so the first thing I got is that I just need to correct you on being dimmed. That they're being decoded, or what's the word I want to use? Defragged. I don't know if that's the right word. We can defrag a computer, but it's not that we need to see this less in a physical sense and more in an energetic sense. So it's like breaks in the code. That's the impact of what the physicality of blocking or putting chemicals into the sky is actually going to do. It's creating destruction and imbalance in it's almost like the DNA of the sun is sort of what I'm getting shown. I'm getting shown like DNA coding coming down, and it's pulling out fragments of that and making that scrambled. So the physicality of dimming the sun is not not what we need to be concerned about. From a climate point of view, it won't impact as much as
the energetic.
Yeah. Yep. As far as how we can assist ourselves, there is a requirement for collective retaliation because it's a collective impact. So I'm not seeing it as an individual type of protection around you. So I'm seeing it as those that are awakened or that want to assist with that are actually needing to connect energetically across the globe, whether that's just intentionally or whether that is in like a mass meditation or an actual activist type of group. But there is points of light all across the world that I'm seeing that are turning on and actually have to join forces to address this. It's not something that can one individual or you individually just alter for yourself.
Right.
Because it is affecting the collective field in which we play.
Yeah.
So it definitely feels like a collective response that needs to happen.
Okay. Something we might be able to support the universe with in facilitating something like that as well.
Yeah. I do feel there will be outside help. And I say outside as in outside of Earth. Just connecting in with that. Almost like the opposite, equal and opposite, happening from above. As above, so below. So it's almost like that duality is going to play out above us in the sky.
Okay.
So I do feel like there's energetic support, but that needs to be essentially called in, opened up, allowed by the collective field of humanity on the earth. It's not something that happens without our active request.
No. As always, we need to ask for help to receive help.
Yeah. I'm seeing it's like the orchestrator of the game can have more of an impact in the game if the participants of the game ask.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Is there anything more to add to that?
I'm very much sensing that there's get out into the sun as much as you can. A lot of transmission coming through the third eye of those that are respecting the quality of the sun and the ability of the sun. There is to me, like there's no lost hope at this point. It's not a definitive direction that humanity will take, but we have taken it in the past.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Which is why it still exists in the consciousness.
There's already a blueprint that exists for this kind of energetic manipulation.
Yeah. I just keep getting, I just really, my gut's just gone, I really want to go back to the Ice Age.
Okay.
Yeah, as far as...
Point of creation, you're thinking?
No, we had an experience with an Ice Age, like that was a result of us interfering. Yeah. And I know there's just general planet like cycles that create change in climate, but we catalyzed that.
Okay.
We made that worse than what it needed to be. I feel like we just pulled ourselves out of, like I'm seeing the planets go around the sun, and I feel like we just pulled ourselves so far out of the orbit or so far out of the cycle that we created our own freeze space or frozen, our own frozen space. Yeah. Because there was, what was the intent there? I feel like there's dueling nations at that time, dueling rights for Earth and for. I don't feel like it was true humans as we are now. It was dueling races.
Can we loop back and see whether the universe will enlighten us anymore, or whether we do need to know anything more about the energies that are at play here? Because obviously it's not just a physical human that's calling these shots. It's a higher form of energetics do we get the luxury of understanding who, what, why, how? Is there anything we can do as humans to try and appease?
I'm just getting, there is stupidity amongst the ranks.
Sounds like the foundation of all wars.
Yeah. I'm just getting like infantile minds are behind this without the full grasp of what they're actually doing. And it's not that their intent is entirely for good, like in their own mindset. It's actually a bit of both, but it is more about power and control. It's more about that ultimate control of reality, of your power to have self-control over your own creation, which, flip that to the good side, or the positive side, that's absolutely where we're at with awakening and ascension, your ability to create your own reality. And that this is like the negative flip side of that.
Okay, so that's interesting. Let's go a bit deeper here. So if we truly believe that we are the creators of our own reality, I would not call this into my reality. So can we truly then create a reality where this isn't happening?
Okay, so but you would call this into your reality, apparently.
Oh, I would I?
Because it's your proof of your own power.
Okay. Right.
Against to be able to create yourself out of it.
Right. So this feels like it could be quite a profound moment in time for humanity.
Yeah, and what I'm getting now is like, well, we've sort of known this was going on behind closed doors and in secret, and we've started to physically see manifestations of this in our own skies. So it's bleeding out of being a secret into, okay, we're showing ourselves now. So it sort of feels like it's slowly stepped through, and it's upping the ante on either side. So the timing, it feels really, really poignant from that perspective. Yeah. I don't know where I'm taking that. Forgot what you said, but
I said how it's just a profound time in humanity. It feels like it's more than geoengineering.
Yeah.
It comes back to total belief in self somehow, like it's a mirror back to us.
Yeah, it's totally that mirror. Like it's in line with awakening. And what more, what harsher way to get you to take control of your own sovereignty or your own being is the threat of death and extinction. There's nothing more powerful that's going to drive you towards life than
for
death.
The entire race and all of our fairy and plant friends around us as well, and the earth itself. So
complete extinction or living blissfully, happily awakened.
So if you were to recap this whole episode, what are the take-home messages?
I feel like there's something else that wants to come in, so let's just jump in with that first. We haven't actually talked about why the sun is so important, other than in your intro, but as a direct question.
From the universe. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so the rising understanding of Schumann resonance, of solar flares, and the way that your sun impacts your reality, your consciousness, the stream of well-being that you experience in your life is becoming more of a topic of conversation. And with that, the reality that the sun is an energetic presence that gives life also arises from that. It's seen, it will be seen as almost like the mother or the life giver, the nourisher of your planet, where at this point in time it is more a keeper of time, day and night, and also a provider of warmth. The shift of the human understanding of the planetary gods, which were as they were known in the past, but more so the planetary energetics that hold the mainframe for your Earth experience to actually exist, is starting to be known in a more mainstream fashion. And just the importance, I'm just getting the importance of the sun is something that I'm just seeing. It's almost like new schools will arise to learn all about the benefits, the metrics, the abilities of the sun, our solar systems. And we can say, that we have astrology and we understand the movement of planets and how that impacts Kali Yuga, all those sort of things. But this is like education shifts in relation to knowing the sun. This is like a whole different paradigm. I'm sure we've been there before in the past, but I feel like that's really coming through.
Yeah.
And the impact or bringing the sun into the mainstream news, such as this sort of experiment, is actually what's going to trigger more people to be able to connect into a stream of consciousness and bring through more information on the sun.
Beautiful.
It actually it makes us see our planetary bodies as living, breathing beings in true support of us. So we definitely start seeing more of the energetic that feeds through rather than a ball in the sky.
Okay. Right. That gives so much more context now to why this is happening.
Yeah.
Wow. We've covered a lot of ground here and certainly have, I think we've segued from the actual physical blocking of the sun.
Yeah.
We've worked out that it's actually more about the energetics and also the awareness of the sun in our human existence. I just wanted to check in to see if we've missed anything. Is there any closing comments or thoughts or support that we need to bring through?
Straight off getting pictures of, I'm getting the word ring bearers and I'm getting shown the Olympic rings. I'm seeing everything's in a circle, the fire of light in a circle. So I'm just putting that out there, not to say what I know what that is, but in case something comes up with the next Olympics or anything like that. But they're like these connections, something to do with the circle being a really pivotal shape or form, because of the awareness that we are going to be having more across the globe about geoengineering. I don't know if this is now or at a later date, but I was really sensing this ring being really strong and this energy coming in from the sun that creates these power like circles of energy that just radiate out of everyone like signals. And then I just saw all of that happening across the earth, just like signal points and like sonar radar coming out all over the earth, but also within our hearts. So for me, just that visual feels like we're not going to go down a bad path, and that the outcome on the other side is really this huge connection that it's like Wi-Fi on steroids, but from a natural point of view. So it's really connecting, it's opening up our own portals of power, and sort of what I'm getting.
Wow.
But I don't know why I got shown the Olympic rings. So if anyone else gets some download on that, by all means, drop.
And interesting, as you were talking, I did read something last night about there being the most ever recorded active volcanoes at the moment everywhere, the most in history, basically. And
that's
as you were talking,
because that's sort of how I saw it all over the world, just like these radiating like points of energy, but they're vibrating like.
And I guess the heat of the sun and that molten lava, to me, feel like very similar.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That just dropped in as well. I'm like, I wonder if there's a little bit of a link there between the.
We'll have to wait and see.
We will.
It's always good to have the unknown put out there as well.
Yeah, I know. All right. So thank you. That wasn't quite, again, it wasn't the direction that I thought we would head. And I very much love the wisdom that the universe has shared with us. And it's almost the case of, how when there's something big in the media, it's like a distraction. Hey, look over here. And then you can tend to focus on the negative and the doom and gloom, whereas the universe has very beautifully said, no, it's not about the physical blocking of the sun. Let's redirect.
Yeah. And it is still the awakening of energy on both sides. So, yeah. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how we can all actively participate in that. I won't say it doesn't feel as bad because I still personally always feel quite sad when I see chemtrails in the sky. But I'll now take it more as bringing awareness to people that there is a bigger reason for the sun to be there. And hopefully it'll awaken enough people to join that.
That's what I was going to say. Maybe it's a very physical signalling of a call to arms, because the universe did say, like, we need this mass connection. We need to join forces. So what better way than seeing all of these crisscrosses in the sky to then, set the intention. And if everybody does that, the energetic shift that we may be able to enhance or force.
I guess we just have to get into action now.
We do. And that might be something that we might be able to facilitate as part of this as well, is we might put something out on our socials and pick a time and everyone tune in and see if we can be a little blip in the overall change.
Yeah. Nice. I like it.
Wonderful. Thank you for once again channeling that wisdom from the universe and for the input from yourself as well. Oh,
Laura.
For bringing through the conscious communication from the universe. It hasn't even been 24 hours yet. It's not quite embedded in my brain.
No, I know. I'm just staring at you.
All right. Thank you so much. And
thank you.
We look forward to the next episode.
We'll see you then.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.